Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2024. In the first video of the series, we went through the recruiting phase to get our players for season 2. And we did pretty good. We got 2 5-star players, a 4-star player, and a 3-star player coming in for next season. And in this video, we are going to play through or simulate through the non-conference games of season 1, starting with San Francisco. Before we jump in, let's check our starting lineup once again. Let's learn these guys' uh, full names. We have Mike Bush starting at point. We have Antonio Brooks starting at the 2 guard. We have Dion Allen starting at small forward. David Watson starting at power forward. I just realized we can click these arrows. And at center, we have Will Davenport. So that is our starting lineup. And it's kind of a weak starting lineup for a Kentucky team. As you can see, it's got 2 4-star players, and that's about it. So I kind of worry we'll struggle this season. Let's check the strategy real quick. Wow, this looks, this is different than the strategy for the pro basketball game. So let's figure this out. Okay, so these are our strategies. Man, this is where let's see. I kind of wish that depending on what you chose here, these numbers would change. Okay, so from the way I understand it, you can set these numbers however you want. And this number determines what percentage of plays you use these numbers for. And the other percentage of plays will be ran based off what you choose here and what you choose here. Is there no way to change your defense? Oh, the defense is over here. Defensive strategy. Oh, okay. I'm going to leave the defensive strategy as is for right now. Wait just one second. What is this? I'll just play man-to-man most of the time for right now. Okay, we'll see how that works out. As far as offense, these numbers kind of tell, to my understanding, how proficient these players are at running these types of offense. So, I can kind of see why flex is set pretty high. And these are the numbers, I think, of how players play against zone. And you can't really, so these are the zone attack options, I believe. Hmm. I don't know how you determine whether or not an upcoming team will play zone very often. Regardless, it doesn't look like we're very efficient at 5 out or triangle or Princeton, and those are all set to 0 or motion. Those are all set to 0. I'm actually going to, let's take flex down a little bit. Let's raise high post a little bit. Actually, let's raise it. Forgive me for my lack of math skills. There we go. Actually, let's do flex 50, high post 29. Let's actually do shuffle 20. I'll do high post 30. We'll try that for right now. We'll just start with the balance 50%. We don't want to do motion. We'll do flex because that seems like the most proficient. Based on these numbers anyway. So that's what we're going to try out here first. We are an 18-point favorite in this opening game. We have no injuries, thankfully, early on. So I think we're ready to. You can actually change your practice plan in this game. This actually looks pretty good to me because we can see what. When you change your strategy, it also changes the numbers over here for your usage. And you're going to want to be spending practice time on things you're doing in the game. So this makes sense to me as of right now. Coach assignments. You know, I'm going to switch one thing here because this coach and this coach have the same ability when it comes to scouting. But this coach has a more superior offensive and defensive knowledge. So we're going to have this guy run practices. We're going to have this guy do scouting. And this guy is the best recruit, so we will keep him on recruiting. I think we've done everything that we want to do in terms of just setting things up. I want to keep this at even keel for right now. Yeah, I think we've done everything. I'm just trying to make sure. Okay, so here we go. The first game against San Francisco. Let's see how things go. And we won by 18, which is exactly what we projected to win by. San Francisco must have not been very good. Okay, we can go and check, see how things went down in this game. Player of the game was Antonio Brooks with 18 points. We actually had 4 starters in double figures. Dion Allen with 14, Will Davenport with 14, Mike Bush with 11, Antonio Brooks with 18. Bench played okay, I guess. No one in double figures. We can see the stats there for this game. We shot 50% from the field, 42.9% from three, 75% from the line. We won the rebounding battle. We won the turnover battle. Shot better from all ways you can shoot, field goal, 3-point, free throw shooting. Pretty much dominated this opening game. So not too much, nothing to harp on really with the first game. So we'll move ahead to the second game. It is kind of cool. You can see the conference records over here on the side to kind of know. We can see Florida is apparently really good and Arkansas is really good. And then Florida plays Wisconsin here. So keep going. Kansas dominating. North Carolina beats Memphis. Villanova is the #1 team in the country. Wisconsin beats Florida. Evansville beats Texas. Okay. And here is our second game against Miami of Ohio. We have no injured players, so no reason to change anything there. We'll have the same starting lineup as last time. Played really well using the strategy for game one. You're an 18-point favorite once again against Miami of Ohio. So I say we go ahead and play this second game. Arkansas destroys Gonzaga. We win by 13, so pretty good. Tennessee has won both their games so far. And we'll go back and look to see Antonio Brooks with 25 points, Player of the game, Will Davenport with 14, Deion Allen with 15. Uh, you have Alex Blair, who was the best bench player during this game with 13 points. And once again, we take care of business. So far, things look fine. 2 games in. We'll get to the next game. You see Arkansas is 3-0. We're 2-0. Tennessee's 2-0. Florida lost that game to Wisconsin. So we'll see how the rankings are affected once we get to the new week. Texas A&M wins their first game of the season. Okay. As far as I know, we can still continue on. Arkansas still undefeated. Connecticut is 2-0 so far. Current champs in the real world. Alabama beats Middle Tennessee. Georgia beats Sacred Heart. And we have some emails to check out. We have risen from 23rd to 15. So that is cool. We rose 8 spots in the top 25. We'll play Bradley in Central Florida in the near future. And Jamal Milton signs his Legion of Intent to play for Kentucky next season. So, no bad news. And no games on this day. Looks like Florida is no longer ranked after losing to Wisconsin, which is kind of harsh. Wisconsin was pretty good, so I didn't think that loss would drop them that far. And we play Clemson. We still have no injured players, and we've played well in the first 2 games using our current strategy. We're only a 3.5-point favorite in this game, though, so this game may be kind of a hard game. But we're going to go ahead and play it anyway. So you see Arkansas is number 2 now. Tennessee's number 13. LSU's number 12. So those opening, we won substantially. Those opening numbers mattered very little. We can already see a big change in the rankings only the second week in. And no games on this day. South Carolina is playing their first game against Wake Forest. NC State beats Villanova. So the number 1 team in the, that means Arkansas will probably be the new number 1 for week 3. Northern Iowa beats Michigan State. And no games for us on this day, so we'll keep going. I said that we would do the entire non-conference portion of this first season, but it may be we just do the first 6 games or so because this is taking a while. And I do like watching these important games simulated because we can get an idea of how our opponents are before we hit conference play. But I don't know. I don't want, with my pro basketball series, most of my videos have been around 30 minutes to 40 minutes, the majority of the videos, unless it's like a special episode where we're doing a draft or actually playing a game. Those take longer. And our simulation episodes or videos, whatever you want to call them, I would like to keep around 30 minutes. So maybe we'll just do the first half of the non-conference schedule, the first 6 games or so, and then finish that up in the next video. We play North Carolina A&T in this next game. We're still not injured. I can already tell one difference between this game and the pro basketball game. There are less injuries in this one. The pro basketball one, in my honest opinion, is too many injuries. Every game, somebody's injured. A lot of it's minor stuff, but it's excessive to the point where it's annoying. And I do understand you play more games in the NBA, you play longer minutes. There's probably a reason to think you may have more minor injuries in NBA than you do college, but it feels like a little too much. This game we haven't had any injuries so far, and we're playing North Carolina A&T. I don't really worry about this game. We're an 18-point favorite again. It seems to be the default number whenever you're projected to just, you know, be substantially better than the team you're playing against. So we will. Oh my gosh, we lost. Wow. We were upset big time at home. Okay. Hmm. I went into that thinking that would be a piece of cake, and it was not a piece of cake. We lost. And we have suffered 2 injuries. As soon as I say, oh, this game doesn't give you injuries, yeah, we have 2 injuries. That really stinks. So let's check out how things have changed lineup wise. Yeah, I'm not playing these guys if they're injured. He's a broken nose. I guess you could play with a broken nose. He has a sprained finger. I don't really like to play. Woodruff hasn't played at all so far. He's a two-star player. He's a point guard. Why don't we just... Okay. I don't like this lineup it gave us. I want to work with this lineup, but let's get to the next game first. Actually, let's check out the box score to see why we lost that game. We were horrible at free throw shooting, and I don't know that you can do anything in terms of practice, in terms of settings we can use to fix that. We lost the rebounding battle, which is terrible to lose. Turnovers were the same. Okay, one thing I am going to change, I don't know that we'll change anything in terms of strategy on the strategy screen, but one thing we can change is to crash the boards a bit more. We'll try to go for rebounds a bit more. Let's go back to it real quick. In terms of defense, I mean, we forced enough turnovers. Maybe we could pick up on defensive intensity a little bit. Let's actually take zone defense down a little. I'll take our pace up just a little bit. Okay, let's see if those affect anything at all. Let's get to the next game. I don't know if we want to switch up anything in terms of the strategy screen. Because it does seem like the flex offense is our best. Seems to be what our players are most efficient at. Man, I can't believe we lost that game. Free throw shooting was awful. 6 of 13 from the line. Tennessee is really good. They're undefeated. We're definitely going to drop in ratings after that opening game. No games on this day, so we will go ahead and Vanderbilt is undefeated. And we are no longer in the top 25. Wow. I'm not going to say we don't deserve it because it was a terrible loss. We play Princeton soon and Temple. Excuse me. Vanderbilt is ranked 20th, and they probably do deserve it because they are undefeated. They lose to Charlotte here, though. No one looks terrible yet in the SEC. The teams at the bottom haven't played that many games. Okay, we play Central Florida next, and we're an 18-point favorite, even with the injuries, but I do not like the lineup that it gave us. So, because these guys are still injured, I'm actually going to start Woodruff at the point because I'm just curious. At the 4, we can start Blair. These guys have the same star rating as the guys they are replacing in the lineup. Let's move forward. And Watson down until they are healthy once again. Now this does put Mike Bush on the bench instead of starting at the point. The two things I always look for when it comes to point guard is passing and core IQ. And he's pretty mediocre. Let's look at Woodruff. Is he any better or any worse? Actually, Woodruff's a little bit worse. So you know what? We should start Bush at the point like we have been. So really the only new player being put into the starting lineup is Blair in place of Watson. And aside from that, we still have the original starting lineup we had. Woodruff is the new sixth man to kind of help relieve Bush in some minutes. And we can see the rest of the lineup here. So that's probably what we're going to run with. And I say we go ahead and let's run it. We win by 17, so we bounce back from an awful loss to improve to 4-1, and we'll do one more game and then call it quits for this video. Florida getting back to winning. South Carolina wins their third game. Tennessee is still undefeated. Okay, so we continue on. Louisville beats Montana State. North Carolina looks good. Cornell beats Virginia Tech. Creighton beats Portland. Kansas State 7-0. Hopefully, it looks like most of our opponents early on are fairly easy, so hopefully we can avoid another upset and get back to being in the top 25, which Florida is also looking. Florida was beaten by a really good Wisconsin team. We were beaten by a terrible North Carolina A&T team. So we are now in December, and we play Bradley. And they are 1-5, so they're not really very good. You can kind of see this game also tells you your net ranking, and our net ranking is now pretty poor because we lost that game. But hopefully that will balance itself back out in time. And I feel like we should win this game against Bradley. And win by 10. We should be a little bit more dominant, but a win is a win. So we improved at 5-1. Oklahoma is Arkansas did not raise to number 2. Arkansas actually dropped a couple of spots despite being undefeated. Looks like Oklahoma is number 2. I don't know who the new number 1 is. Villanova was number 1 and they lost. So I assume there's a new number. No, Villanova is still number 1 according to this. And they actually play Arkansas. That would be an interesting game to just play through, honestly, but we won't do that. We'll get to the next game and then we'll call it quits for this video. I'm curious about the Arkansas Villanova game. Villanova takes care of business against Arkansas. So they're probably still ranked number 1 for a reason. Again, none of the SEC teams are outright awful. A few teams are 500 or near 500. We have one player back now, which is pretty cool. And we have an email, probably a scouting email. Okay, Louisville is an upcoming game. I do want to check the report for this Louisville game. We are projected to lose this game. Louisville looks to be a substantially better team. But we will do what we can. We are still not ranked despite winning both games this past week. And here is where we will stop before our game against Temple. We are still pretty far down in the net rankings. Temple is actually the projected favorite here. They are 5-1. We are 5-1. So this might be a tough game. Makes me nervous, honestly. um, We've been the favorite for every game so far. So I don't know. One thing we can do is switch our lineup. Which they still want to start forward. I do not want to start forward. He still has issue with his nose, so Watson is back in the lineup. That is good. We're going to move forward, down, switch things around. And this is probably the lineup we'll run with. Defensively, we're doing fine. Offensively, we're kind of mediocre. We're actually 7th in the league in three-point shooting, so that is not a concern of ours. But our free throw shooting is terrible, which is weird because these two things usually run hand in hand. So I don't know that we can do anything. I don't know we can do anything to help out our offense. Maybe we could change this to favor outside because we are such a good three-point shooting team. Let's switch that to that for this game. See if it helps us to take more threes. Our defense is good. I'm not too worried about our defense right now. We're doing pretty good. Rebounding is not great, but could be worse. We could actually, I'm going to switch that to favor outside. Okay, this last option here actually doesn't do anything. This just tells you what this offense means, basically. So this actually doesn't mean anything. So we'll run this set 50% of the time, but we'll also favor outside shots. You know what? Let's bump this up a little. I'm just curious how switching this stuff around impacts the game. I want to bump this up a little bit. Turn this to favor outside. Let's see, the flex offense requires all 5 players to be good ball handlers and passers. When run correctly, easy shots are freed up in the low and high post for all players, but the big men must be able to handle the ball and pass effectively. So this doesn't really say anything about outside shooting, and I think we want to do outside shooting. Forgive me for being ignorant on some of these offenses because I didn't entirely know what a flex offense meant, to be honest with you. We'll just keep this at 50. We'll put favor outside. And that's what we'll run with. And I do want to, one other thing I want to do actually Let's try to bump the rebounding up even a little bit more. Our defense is good. I want to keep it the way it is. Offensive pace, bump it up a little bit. Okay. All right, that's what we'll do when we play the next game, which will be in the next video. So we are ending this video here and doing okay so far. 5-1 is good. Our one loss was really bad. Before we do leave, and this will be the last thing, I promise, we can check out, I think we can check this out. Is there a team sheet? Here's what I was looking at. Okay, there is a tourney watch option here, so you can kind of see which teams you've defeated and have lost to and what quadrant those teams belong in. What you want to see is quad 1 wins. Those tend to matter the most in terms of making the tournament. What you don't want to see is losses in the quad 3 or quad 4. And we have a quad 3 loss already, and we don't have any quad 1 games at all so far. Bubble watch is not effective until February 1st. So, okay, so this screen is important in this game in terms of making the tournament, which is what we want to do ultimately. And win games in the tournament, obviously, but you get to make the tournament first. So I want to be checking this screen at the end of every video. And these can change too. Like if North Carolina A&T is actually a really solid team, they can move up quadrants. So that would favor us if they move up, because that means they're actually a pretty good team and that loss wasn't that bad. But here's how things look right now in terms of our wins. And yeah, that's how things are. So with that being said, we'll see you next time.